shooting star!
Screamer doesn't ease you in. Within seconds of the first race, a car zoomed past me and detonated, parts scattering across a rain-slicked tunnel, because an opponent activated strike mode and clipped the wall at full speed. That's the tone of this anime-inspired combat racer, which is kind of like Wipeout meets Mario Kart, but instead of picking up shells to shoot at the competition, every vehicle is equipped with a powerful device called the Echo, which gradually converts defensive energy into offensive firepower. Here, you have to weigh your decisions carefully instead of hoping to drive over a particular item. The satisfyingly complex resource management system underneath gives Screamer a tactical backbone that neither of those games attempted, but after a few hours with a pre-release PC build, the arcade racing already has a confident mechanical identity. It's fast, physical, and surprisingly deep. And while the story mode serves primarily as a tutorial for those systems, its arcade racing is where Screamer's identity truly shines. What I played suggests that Screamer's combat racing foundation is strong enough to carry the weight the developer is placing on it. Screamer's central system is built around two resource meters that sit on opposite sides of the HUD, and the interplay between them sets it apart from the combat racing pack. On the left, Sync, the defensive resource built passively over time and actively through skill play. Cornering well, timing gear shifts, maintaining speed through turns. Sync powers your boost, and to activate that you hold the left bumper for a sustained speed increase. And it powers your shield with the right bumper, which costs one full Sync tank and provides temporary protection against incoming strikes and overdrive hits. When you spend Sync on either of those actions, it converts into entropy, the offensive meter on the right side of the screen.
You're done!
Entropy is where things get dangerous. 2 bars of entropy activate Strike with the right bumper, which grants a temporary speed boost during which any opponent you collide with explodes. A full KO that removes them from the race temporarily. Fill all 4 entropy tanks and you unlock overdrive by clicking in both thumbsticks, which turns your car into a flaming battering ram that detonates everything it touches. The catch is lethal. During overdrive, hitting any track barrier detonates you instead. It's the most powerful tool in Screamer, and it punishes even a slight misjudgment with the same instant death it dishes out. This conversion loop is what makes this more than a standard boost and shoot racer. Boosting spends Sync but generates entropy, which means aggressive drivers who constantly burn speed are also passively building toward their combat abilities. Shielding spends Sync and directly banks 1 tank of entropy, so even a defensive play feeds the offensive meter. Every race becomes a rolling calculation. Do you burn Sync on a boost to close the gap, or bank a shield to both protect yourself and charge toward a strike? Do you spend 2 entropy bars on an immediate KO attempt, or hold out for the full overdrive? The system teaches restraint through its own logic rather than through punishment. And even on balanced difficulty, the races produced a rhythm that felt strategic rather than purely chaotic. I felt like I was making decisions at 200 miles per hour, not just button mashing. The right thumbstick handles drifting, and this is the control that makes Screamer's handling feel distinct. Rather than breaking into corners, you pull the right stick to execute a drift that whips the car sideways through turns without losing meaningful speed. Once you internalize the 2-stick rhythm, left for steering, right for drifting, the movement stops feeling like you're fighting the car and starts feeling like you're commanding it. There is also an upshift system, where over the course of a race, you manually shift gears to increase your top speed, which layers a progression curve onto each race rather than just the metagame. The cars have weight to them too, not the sluggish input delay kind, more like the satisfying heft of something that wants you to feel every collision and every wall scrape. Consecutive clean upshifts without collisions also accelerate Sync generation, rewarding precision beyond individual inputs. Meanwhile, hitting a barrier at speed costs you momentum but doesn't destroy you unless you're in overdrive or strike mode, which keeps the racing forgiving enough to stay fun while the combat systems layer on the tension. Screamer's initial boot experience demonstrates surprising care. Players can choose between a quick start, which throws them directly into the action, or a guided setup that walks them through video, audio, and accessibility options. The accessibility suite is particularly comprehensive, featuring full one-handed control remapping for either the left or right hand, complete with automatic throttle and the ability to reassign every input to a single side of the controller, deuteranopia, protanopia, and tritanopia color blindness filters with adjustable intensity on a scale of 1 to 10, independently scalable subtitle and menu text sizing, and a tinnitus reduction filter with configurable frequency, default 10 kHz. This level of audio accessibility is rare in racing games, and its upfront inclusion rather than being buried in a submenu is commendable. Streamers, meanwhile, will immediately appreciate the licensed audio content toggle. A single switch disables copyrighted music before going live, eliminating the need for third-party workarounds. This small inclusion demonstrates an understanding of how people actually play and broadcast games in 2026. This preview was played on a PC at a 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide resolution, where the visual style looked impressive. It ran smoothly on max settings with AMD FSR turned on, delivering solid visuals. Neon-soaked tracks pop with color, car models show visible collision damage, and the sense of speed remains strong even without functional DLSS or generation support in the preview build. The graphics menu is highly granular, offering individual sliders for anti-aliasing, post-processing, effects, shadows, reflections, global illumination, texture quality, foliage, and shading, as well as upscaling options across NVIDIA DLSS, AMD FSR 4.0, and TSR, with frame generation support for compatible hardware. One final note, Screamer offers 5 AI difficulty tiers ranging from very easy to very hard, along with driving aids including arcade throttle with automatic full acceleration, neural throttle and brake assist, neural steer and drift assist, and neural handling for cornering and wall avoidance. While these are useful options, they are hidden within the custom game settings rather than being presented during the initial setup. For a game that otherwise prioritizes accessibility so effectively, burying the driving aids behind layers of menus feels like an oversight that could unnecessarily challenge less experienced players during their initial races. Each of the 15 characters is split across 5 teams of 3, 1 leader and 2 members per squad, and brings a unique passive ability that meaningfully alters their playstyle. For example, Frederick's Reaper's Dance empowers his strike and grants bonus sync on KO, but makes him explode on contact with track barriers while striking, a high-risk, high-reward trade-off. Hiroshi's Unstable Boost extends boost's duration the longer you hold it, rewarding players who can maintain clean racing lines. Royson's One More Freckle reduces Strike's entropy cost and allows it to chain continuously, turning her into a relentless close-range threat. Only a handful of characters were accessible in the arcade build, but the differences between them were pronounced enough that swapping rosters changed my approach to the same tracks. The character and world design leans heavily into an anime aesthetic, which sets the tone for Screamer's hero shooter-esque vibe. Screamer's opening cutscene uses fully animated cel-shaded sequences to introduce its tournament cast. Veterans and newcomers assembling for the Screamer tournament, run by a figure named Gage, who installs the Echo device on every vehicle. The voice acting is standard English dubbed anime, serviceable, occasionally cheesy, and tonally consistent with the art style.
On fait quoi? Comment on approche, Hiroshi?
The Echo system, which in gameplay terms is the sync-to-entropy resource loop, is positioned in the lore as a bridge between narrative and mechanics, justifying why these racers can blow each other up. It's an ambitious framework. However, the preview builds story mode, which includes 6 episodes of anime-driven narrative with special race rules, functions effectively as a tutorial for Screamer systems, but struggles with pacing and presentation. The dialogue frequently interrupts races mid-action to deliver exposition, and at least for my first impressions during the opening segments, the character writing lacks the personality needed to justify the dramatic framing. It's functional, but the arcade modes remain the stronger draw. Arcade mode, where I spent most of my time for this preview, offers substantially more customization than the genre typically provides. There are 3 preset race types for the basic race mode, including free-for-all, where all 15 racers are on the grid, leaders with just the 5 team captains, and members, which includes only the 10 sidekicks for each team. Each of these presets produces distinct competitive dynamics. Free-for-all is maximum chaos, with 15 vehicles jostling for position as strikes and overdrives erupt across the pack. Leaders is tighter and more personal, a 5-racer sprint where every KO matters. Meanwhile, the members preset sits in the middle, offering 10-racer fields with a different tactical flavor since sidekick abilities tend more towards specialized functions. The custom rule set editor is the real surprise here. You can adjust lap counts up to 9, set competitor numbers up to 16, and toggle from a long list of modifiers that reshapes the racing experience. For instance, deactivate overdrive entirely for a pure racing mode. Disable all fighting mechanics to remove strikes as well. Toggle off individual character skills, force permanent overdrive for every racer from the opening lap, adjust passive sync generation rates, activate power shift where active shifting unleashes a massive speed surge, enable volatile ecosystem mode where all racers are permanently vulnerable to KOs, or turn on Gauge's Finest, which prevents vehicles from losing parts on collision, effectively a no-destruction cosmetic mode. I didn't test every permutation, but the breadth suggests serious potential for community-driven rule sets and custom competitive formats. Team Race adds another layer. Duo and trio variants allow mixed teams across factions as long as a leader is present, and scoring combines final placement points with KO tallies. Smashing your own teammates hurts your combined total, which creates an interesting wrinkle when everyone is fighting for position in the same pack. The map selection across the preview's initial 4 tracks offers a strong mix of environments, and I even noticed a 5th and 6th map unlock as a reward for playing the arcade mode. Tight urban corridors lined with neon signage give way to wider circuits with sweeping elevation changes, and day versus night settings noticeably affect visibility and atmosphere. Repeated arcade play also unlocked a new character, new music, and cosmetic items, hinting at a progression system that rewards continued engagement, though how deep that progression system goes remains an open question. After spending a few hours exploring the preview content, what emerged is a combat racer with a genuinely clever resource system, meaningful character differentiation, and a custom rule set editor that could give Screamer real longevity. The sync to entropy conversion loop forces players to think 2 steps ahead, spending defensively to build offensively. This tactical layer elevates Screamer's racing above the typical grab a pickup and fire template. Milestone's expertise in crafting racing games shines through in every drift, boost, and well-timed strike. However, some big questions remain. It's unclear whether the writing of the much broader campaign arc ultimately does justice to the character-driven structure, whether the pacing between cutscenes and races ends up feeling earned, and whether the campaign's special rules add meaningful variety beyond what exists in the arcade mode. These unanswered questions are central to Screamer's overall appeal, but for now, Screamer's strong racing foundation warrants attention, and I look forward to its upcoming March 26 release on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. For more on Screamer, check out the career mode walkthrough video. Plus, look for our full review closer to launch. And for everything else in gaming, stick with IGN.
You're done!